Remember Darrell Sheets? He's being investigated. The beloved Storage Wars star, known as the Gambler, took his own life in 2026. And now authorities are looking into what really happened. From being one of the most recognizable faces on the show, pulling in serious money and living the reality TV dream, to nearly dying from a heart attack, drowning in medical debt, and ultimately ending his own life under circumstances that raised serious questions. Darrell Sheets was grinding at storage auctions for over 30 years before Storage Wars existed. He became known as the Gambler because he wasn't afraid to go big on risky units others passed on. When A&E launched Storage Wars in 2010, Darrell was an original cast member. His big personality and genuine passion made him perfect for TV. Viewers loved him. He wasn't polished or fake, just a regular guy chasing the thrill. By 2012, Storage Wars was A&E's biggest hit. Darrell became a fan favorite. His most famous moment came when he discovered original Pablo Picasso artwork, valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars. At his peak, Darrell was making serious money. Show salary, appearance fees, merchandise deals. He was living the dream. Fame, fortune, doing what he loved on national television. But behind the scenes, things were about to go very wrong. The heart attack that changed everything. In March 2016, Darrell Sheets suffered a massive heart attack. He was rushed to the hospital for emergency surgery. Doctors said if he had waited one more hour, he would have died. For someone who built his life on being active, traveling to auctions, and keeping up energy for reality TV, this was devastating. The heart attack forced Darrell to slow down completely. He couldn't work the way he used to. But the worst part wasn't the recovery. It was the medical bills. Heart surgery is expensive. Even with insurance, costs piled up fast. And Storage Wars didn't pay as much as people thought. Then in 2017, his son Brandon had a pulmonary embolism. Brandon survived, but the medical bills were massive again. Now Darrell wasn't just dealing with his own debt. He was dealing with his son's medical expenses too. The financial pressure became unbearable. The money from Storage Wars was disappearing fast. The loud, confident gambler who took risks and won big was now struggling just to stay afloat. And the show that made him famous wasn't helping anymore. The show that stopped caring. Here's the thing about reality TV. When you're healthy and bringing in views, the network loves you. But the second you slow down, they move on. That's exactly what happened to Darrell. After his heart attack, Darrell tried to keep working on Storage Wars. But he wasn't the same. He couldn't bring the same energy, and the producers knew it. Slowly, his screen time started shrinking. They gave more focus to newer cast members like Ivy Calvin and Renee Nizoda. Behind the scenes, things were even worse. When Darrell reached out to Jared Schultz after his heart attack, Jared barely acknowledged it. When Darrell came back to the show, the same manufactured rivalries continued like nothing had happened. Storage Wars was never about friendship. It was about competition. And when Darrell started falling behind, nobody stepped in to help. By 2019, Darrell left Storage Wars. After nearly a decade, he quietly walked away. No big farewell, no celebration. He was just gone. And most viewers didn't even notice. Broke and struggling. After leaving Storage Wars, Darrell's financial situation got worse. The steady income was gone, appearance fees dried up, and the medical debt kept piling up. Darrell tried to keep working at storage auctions on a much smaller scale. He wasn't pulling in big fines anymore. He was just another bidder trying to make a living in an industry that had become oversaturated thanks to Storage Wars. The show had created a gold rush mentality. Everyone wanted to get into storage auctions. But most units were filled with junk. and competition drove prices so high that even experienced bidders like Darrell struggled to make a profit. On top of that, Darrell's health was still fragile. He couldn't work long hours. He couldn't travel across the state. His body couldn't handle it anymore. Less income, less opportunity, more financial pressure. By the early 2020s, Darrell was openly struggling. He was 66 years old, dealing with health problems, drowning in debt, trying to survive in an industry that had moved on. The fame was gone, the money was gone, and the life he built was falling apart. The cast that forgot him. While Darrell was struggling, the rest of the Storage Wars cast moved on with their lives. Some were still on the show. Others had left and started new ventures, but almost none of them stayed in touch with Darrell. Jared Schultz had his own problems after his 2018 breakup with Brandy and the 2021 bar incident that got him dropped from the show. Barry Weiss had his horrific motorcycle accident in 2019 and disappeared from public life. Dave Hester was running his auction business and had long since moved on from the drama. But none of them were checking in on Darrell. The man who had been part of the original crew, who had helped make Storage Wars a success, was now just a forgotten name. And that says everything about what the show really was. It wasn't a family, it wasn't a community, it was a group of people competing for screen time, paychecks, and relevance. And when the cameras stopped rolling, so did the relationships. Even the fans moved on. Darrell's social media following dropped. His posts got fewer likes and comments. People who used to praise the gambler for his big wins and bold risks barely remembered him anymore. He had become a relic of a show that had already peaked and faded. Where he is now. As of 2026, Darrell Sheets is 67 years old. He's no longer on Storage Wars. He's no longer attending major auctions. And he's no longer living the life people saw on TV. He still does small-scale auctions when his health allows it, but it's nothing like the glory days. The money is minimal, the fines are average, and the excitement that once defined his career is long gone. His health remains a constant concern. Heart disease doesn't just go away. And at his age, every year brings new challenges. He's had to accept that the physical demands of his old lifestyle are no longer possible. Financially, things are still difficult. The medical debt never fully disappeared. The income from Storage Wars is a distant memory. And the reality TV fame that once seemed like a ticket to financial security ended up being temporary. Darrell rarely does interviews anymore. He's not active on social media the way he used to be. And when people do recognize him, it's usually with a mix of nostalgia and pity. Remember the gambler? Yeah, things didn't end well for him. The Storage Wars curse. Darrell's story isn't unique. Almost every cast member from Storage Wars has struggled in some way after the show. Jared lost his business and his relationship. Barry nearly died in a motorcycle accident. Brandy inherited a dying show with no viewers. And only Dave Hester, the guy everyone called the villain, actually came out okay because he got out early and told the truth about the show being fake. Storage Wars promised fame and fortune. But what it actually delivered was exploitation, manufactured drama, and cast members who were used up and discarded the moment they stopped being profitable. The network made millions. The cast members? Most of them ended up broke, sick, or bitter. Darrell gave the show everything. His energy, his personality, his passion. And in return, the show gave him a few years of fame, some money that didn't last, and a legacy that most people have already forgotten. When he needed support the most, when the medical bills were crushing him and his health was failing, the show and the cast had already moved on.